Welcome back to my channel. Today we explore the value of specific coins, the top 6 most valuable U.S. Jefferson nickel coins value in today's market. So let's get started. First up, the 1949 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark holds a modest but noteworthy place. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the 1949 nickel struck in Philadelphia, how to identify it, and what it's worth in today's collector market. First, let's talk about what makes this coin identifiable. The 1949 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. On coins from this era, the absence of a mint mark under Monticello on the reverse side indicates Philadelphia production. This is a common characteristic for coins from that mint before 1980. The obverse of the coin features the familiar left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. Designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, the reverse shows Jefferson's home, Monticello, with the inscriptions E pluribus una Monticello, 5 cents, in United States of America. In terms of mintage, over 60 million of these coins were struck in Philadelphia in 1949. This makes the coin relatively common when compared to lower mintage issues in the Jefferson series. However, collectors still seek examples in higher grades and in original, uncleaned condition. Now, let's get into value. If you have a 1949 Jefferson nickel from Philadelphia in circulated but decent condition, let's say, what collectors call good to very fine, the coin's value is typically modest. On the current market, such a coin usually sells for between 15 cents and 50 cents. While that's well above face value, it's not a rare or high-demand item in average condition. However, if the coin is in extremely fine or uncirculated condition, particularly with original luster and no signs of wear, their value can be significantly higher. Mint state examples: graded MS62, MS65 by professional grading services, can range in value from $2 to $10 depending on quality, strike, and eye appeal. It's important to remember that condition is everything in the coin world. A coin that's been cleaned, scratched, or heavily worn will be worth much less than one that's been well preserved. If you believe your 1949 nickel is in exceptional shape, it may be worth having it professionally graded. But for most people, finding this coin in pocket change or an old coin jar, it's a fun piece of history with a small collector's premium. So while the 1949 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark may not make you rich, it's a great entry collectible that represents American coinage from the post-war era. Next up, the 1983 Jefferson nickel with the Denver mint mark. That's the small d you'll find on the right side of Monticello on the reverse of the coin. On the surface, the 1983 D Jefferson nickel might seem like an ordinary coin. It was struck in large numbers. Over 536 million were minted that year at the Denver Mint. So, in circulated condition, most of these coins are only worth their face value. Maybe a little more if they're in slightly better shape. But what makes some of these coins more interesting is when they appear with mint errors or damage that can sometimes be mistaken for an error, such as what some refer to as a cut or cut error. Let's clarify what that means. A true CUDA error happens when a portion of the die breaks off, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. These can occur near the rim and are usually quite obvious. Collectors do value these types of mint errors. However, many 198 3D nickels that show damage or strange marks are simply mint damage, meaning the coin was altered after it left the mint, either through circulation or by accident. If your 198 3D nickel shows a strange bump, dent, or cut-like mark, it's important to determine if it's a legitimate mint error or just damage. Post-mint damage usually doesn't add value, and in most cases, collectors are not interested in coins that are simply damaged. On the other hand, a genuine cut error or other confirmed mint error can be worth more. In today's market, a circulated 198 3D Jefferson nickel with regular wear and tear is typically worth 5 cents, maybe 10 cents to $1 if it's in uncommonly nice condition. However, a 198 3D with a verified cut or dramatic mint error can sell for anywhere from $5 up to $30, depending on the severity and visual appeal of the error. Keep in mind, prices also depend on how much a buyer is willing to pay. Rare or dramatic error coins in pristine condition can sometimes command even higher prices in auctions. If you think you have a genuine mint error on a 198 3D nickel, it's best to have it examined by a coin expert or send it to a third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC. Their opinion can make a big difference when it comes to value and marketability. In summary, while most 1983 D Jefferson nickels aren't especially valuable, a rare few with legitimate errors could be worth more than face value. As always in coin collecting, the details matter, and condition, authenticity, and demand will determine the true market price. Next up, the 1988 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark minted in Philadelphia. And talk about how much it's worth today, especially in the kind of condition most of us find coins in: circulated, dirty, or just plain worn from years of use. First, let's cover the basics. The 1988 Jefferson nickel is made of a copper-nickel alloy. Over 662 million of these coins were minted in Philadelphia that year, so they're not rare by any means. The P-Mint mark is located on the front of the coin, just to the right of Thomas Jefferson's bust. If you've come across one of these coins in your change, chances are it shows some signs of wear-faded details, surface grime, and possibly scratches or nicks. Now, when it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher numbers representing better condition. Uncirculated coins, or those that have never been used, can be worth more to collectors. But the average 1988p nickel found in circulation is one that's dirty or worn is typically worth its face value of 5 cents. There are exceptions though. In rare cases, if a circulated 1988p nickel has a significant mint error like an off-center strike, a double die, or a planchette issue, it might be worth a few dollars or more to the right collector. These kinds of errors are not common, and most circulated coins without such flaws still trade for just face value. So, what's the realistic value of a normal 1988p Jefferson nickel in today's market? If it's heavily circulated or dirty, it's still only worth 5 cents. If the coin is in slightly better shape, let's say a higher-end circulated grade, it might fetch 10 to 20 cents from a collector. But that's only if someone is actively looking to fill a hole in a date and mint mark set. In summary, unless your 1988p nickel has an error or is in exceptionally high condition, it's not considered valuable in the numismatic market. Still, it's a great example of modern U.S. coinage, and collecting even common coins can be a fun and educational hobby. Next up, the 1946 Jefferson nickel was minted shortly after World War II. That year, the Denver Mint produced over 45 million nickels, each bearing the D Mint mark on the reverse side, located to the right of Monticello. Because of this relatively high mintage, the 1946D is not considered rare, especially when compared to key dates in the series. In terms of design, this coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, designed by Felix Schlag. The reverse shows Jefferson's home, Monticello. Unless the coin has a significant error or is an extremely high grade, most 1946D nickels are considered common. Now let's talk about condition. Coin collectors and dealers grade coins on a scale from poor to mint state. A damaged coin set, as one with heavy wear, corrosion, scratches, or other impairments would fall into the lower end of that scale. These issues significantly reduce a coin's desirability and value to collectors. So, what is a 1946D nickel in damaged or poor condition worth in today's market? In most cases, a heavily worn or damaged example of the 1946D nickel holds only its face value, 5 cents. However, there are a few exceptions. If the damage is minor and the coin still has some collectible features, it might sell to a buyer for around 10 to 25 cents. Coins with more obvious wear and tear, including deep scratches or heavy corrosion, generally don't sell above face value. That being said, some collectors specialize in so-called lowball collections, where they seek out the most heavily worn examples of a particular coin. But even then, the market for such coins is limited, and prices rarely exceed $1 or $2 and less. The coin also has a rare error or variation. If you're unsure whether your coin might have any extra value, you can compare it to graded examples online, or take it to a local coin dealer for an opinion. Keep in mind though, that damaged coins usually don't qualify for professional grading and are not likely to attract premium offers. To sum it up, while the 1946D Jefferson nickel is a piece of American history, its monetary value in damaged condition is typically low. Unless your coin has a unique error or is part of a rare die variety, it's not likely to be worth more than a few cents. Next up, the 1959 Jefferson nickel with the D Mint mark. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint and is part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and continues to this day. While many Jefferson nickels are still found in circulation, collectors often seek out specific years and conditions that make certain coins more desirable and, sometimes, more valuable. The 1959D nickel had a relatively high mintage, with over 160 million coins produced. Because of that, it's not considered rare in the traditional sense. However, condition is everything in numismatics. When we talk about a coin in extra fine condition, or XF, we mean a coin that shows light wear on the highest points of the design, but still has most of its original details intact. For the 1959D nickel, that includes sharp features on Thomas Jefferson's face, a mostly clear Monticello on the reverse, and visible details in the lettering and steps. Now let's talk value. In circulated grades, like good or very fine, this coin generally holds only face value 5 cents. But in extra fine condition, it carries a small premium. As of today, in the current market, a 1959D Jefferson nickel in extra fine condition is typically valued between 25 cents and 50 cents. That range depends on the exact quality of the coin. the presence of any luster, and the demand from collectors. While this may not seem like a lot, it's important to remember that the Jefferson nickel series is popular among collectors for building full-date sets. Coins in extra fine and better conditions are often preferred for albums or starter collections. Also, if a coin displays full steps detail on the Monticello building, even at extra fine level, that can increase its value slightly though full steps are more commonly associated with mint state coins. For those hoping to find valuable nickels in change, it's worth checking the condition carefully. Even a slight bump in grade can increase value. That said, if you're holding on to a 1959D nickel in extra fine condition, it's not a high-dollar coin, but it's still a neat piece of mid-20th century American coinage with collectible appeal. Next up, the 1941 Jefferson nickel from the United States. We're focusing specifically on the version that does not have a mint mark and shows significant wear or damage, sometimes referred to by collectors as a dot condition coin. Let's break down its background, what affects its value, and how much it's worth in today's market. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. The coin features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front, designed by artist Felix Schlag. The reverse side of the coin shows Jefferson's Virginia home, Monticello. The 1941 version was minted in large numbers at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark at the time. Over 200 million of these nickels were struck in Philadelphia alone, making them fairly common in general. However, the condition of the coin plays a critical role in determining its value. When we talk about a coin being in full damage dot condition, we're generally referring to a piece that has seen heavy circulation. This might include major scratches, surface wear, corrosion, or even pitting. Sometimes, damage is so significant that parts of the design are barely visible. Unfortunately, damage like this brings the value of a coin down considerably, even if it's quite old dot in pristine, uncirculated condition. A 1941 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark might be worth between $2 to $5, depending on grading. Higher grade examples certified by professional grading services can bring in even more, sometimes in the range of $10 to $15 or more. However, for coins in poor condition with extensive damage, the value drops sharply. A heavily worn 1941 Jefferson nickel, especially one with corrosion or severe wear on both sides, typically holds only its face value of 5 cents. In some cases, collectors might pay a few cents more if the damage is unusual or interesting. But generally, a damaged coin like this is not considered collectible in the traditional sense. That said, some people still hold on to these coins for sentimental reasons, or simply because they enjoy searching through pocket change. While a damaged 1941 nickel won't bring big money, it's still a piece of American history and can be a fun part of a beginner coin collection. To sum up, if you have a 1941 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark and it's in a full damage condition, its market value today is likely no more than 5 cents. It might not be a high-dollar item, but it still tells a story from over 80 years ago. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. See you, and next time, happy collecting.